about the importance of vivid dreams and dreaming and lucid dream states. I also was reminded, the first time I read it, it really came through the topic of infertility. So tell me where this story comes from. It resonates with me so deeply on so many levels, but can you share with us where the story comes from?
Yeah, I want to say like everything usually does come from a dream for me. But this one, the thread of it, I think came from a lot of the stuff that I write comes from dreams or reading like scientific journals. And I was reading this article about this scientist. His name is Avi Loeb, and Avi Loeb is this very hated scientist because he does these deep sea expeditions where he finds globules of extraterrestrial matter. And so it was like all the like he's an American scientist, but the Canadian scientists hate him, the American scientists hate him. And I thought about that idea of like, what if you were to find this extraterrestrial thing? And I love the Perseids. I watch them every year in August. Is the most beautiful thing in the world to watch. And every year I notice they keep getting bigger. So my brain was like, what if you were the idea of alien life in a way? And what if it was stuck to an emotion as opposed to it being like a sentient creature? And the one thing that you thought so fondly about the person that was the closest in your life, if it transformed into something to make you be attracted to it and bring it back into your life. So that was kind of like the thread of where it went through. And then just the idea of sometimes you are in a relationship with someone, like long-term relationships, and that relationship falters, and you have to sometimes decide, like, do you stay with someone or do you leave the person? Either way, both of these things are so terribly uncomfortable, but at some point you need to make a change in your life. And you have to decide like whether it's better to stay in the past or if it's better to move on to the future. So for her, that's what the baby sort of symbolizes, and the choice that she needs to make throughout the film is to, does she stay in the past with this love that she has, or does she move forward with the love that's growing inside of her?
Oh my God, even that is so poetic and touching. Helena, Michael, would you guys like to jump in and riff on that or ask any other questions that you might have?
Yeah, Helena, do you want to go first or second?
I
I'll
would
be super
love to go
curious.
second.
Yeah, okay. Right off the top, then I have like just a bunch of sort of overview and specific notes throughout that I would just like to share, starting, and we'll start at the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, when I read this script, I can tell that it is a director's script, a writer-director script, and that it is a good director's script because the description is just so precise and poetic. Like if I were your DP, I would be like, well, thank you, reading this thing, you know. So right away, the opening image, I am a bit surprised that you didn't employ some of those striking visuals, like in the dream sequence or in the paint on glass sequence or something up off the top in like in media res, or just something that was a little more resonant. I mean, I feel like this is a primo opportunity right from the jump to hit us with something emotionally resonant that ties into your thesis and theme, and employs some of those amazing descriptions and visuals that you have peppered throughout. Oh, wait, can I say anything? No, I'll try not to say anything. I've read the entire script, which is great, everybody. Um, but you have so much throughout this script that you can put off the top. And because right after that, the where we open in the current version is, it feels almost like a post title card hit in the classroom. May Charles stands poised and radiant behind the podium. And then we get into this flashback of her finding the cormorant thing. I did also think that it was a little strange that the story seems to start after the triggering catalyst, which is her finding this cormorant statue, which the first section of this, I feel like you might have some more impactful story beats if it was just restructured or reordered a little bit. I kind of wanted to spend some time with May and get a sense of like what state of grief she's in before she finds like finding this. She's been diving for like 6 months, just trying to find any semblance of her husband. And this cormorant statue is like hope. This is like, wow, okay, maybe he still is out there, or like in her delusions that he still possibly could be, even though it's been 6 months. Like, I feel like, yeah, I need to feel her, and her grief is alluded to strongly throughout. But again, you're so good at describing and these visuals and flashbacks. I have no doubt that even if we saw small flashbacks or a montage or something, even just like her dives to get a sense that she's going out like every day diving, trying to find some semblance. The other thing, does she have a boat? How does she get out there? Because that would also
Just,
be.
yeah, I guess she does have a boat, but she's just sort of like swimming out there.
Okay.
Like full backstory, it's like she's a swimmer her whole life because she's lived on the
Mm,
coast. So it's just like something easy for her too as well. And it's a thing too, like when I was a pregnant woman, I was like, it was my favorite thing to do to swim because you just felt so light. And so
mm,
it was something that I would do all the time, but it was something that I had done before I was pregnant because you can't just start swimming. You have to keep it up
yeah.
or else it like messes with your body. And then it's like she's 6 months pregnant because that's why you're in the second trimester and like you always feel really good. So can do anything, like dive a lot, even though you're not supposed to.
Um, and then, okay, the other thing right off the top that struck me as a little strange was that you have, oh my God, you have so much great just allusion to Greek mythology. And I mean, oh my God, the Perseids, like smashing into the boat or whatever, Perseus saving Andromeda Bay, Andromeda from the sea monster is like all of this. I see what you were doing there. I'm versed. And it's there's a thread throughout that is so just, and Skilla, and James
I'm glad that I'm
Charlie.
glad that you got that. There's like a lot
Yeah,
of that
yeah,
that's through it. I was trying to think of because my brain is like that because of all my weird dreaming, the idea of that she's sort of like this Penelope in the way, and she's trying to bring him back to land. So I'm like, I'm glad
yeah,
you did
yeah.
that.
And
That's
it's
nice.
great. And throughout it, I loved it. I loved when she makes allusions to it. And so it just seems strange that you didn't also have her talking about something, the sea urchin related to Greek mythology off the start. And instead, she's talking about like a very Christian view of and how it relates to the Christian religiosity of it.
Mm.
So I just thought that, I don't know, if you wanted to work with a smaller palette of ideas and do it all Greek myth, that would be an option too. It does seem cool that she is so into. It does build out her character that she's so into like marine biology and all these like Greek poetics and religious iconography. Um, and then we go to the flashback, um, which also I felt like I needed. I wanted more of a sense of what May and James's relationship was before all this happened, because later on when he is acting so strange as like this weird urchin for hot frosty, Edward Scissorhands type of guy, it would be nice to have some more material to compare that to be like, oh, something is not, or something is strange with him. Something's odd here. And I love the symbolism of the cormorant statue. I also felt like, we don't get a sense that May is even in a state of grief until really page 4, I think it is, where we get like a deep sigh escapes her lips. And I felt like even just some sense of like cracks in the armor of her, like she's coming back to teach after like 6 months of grieving and solo pregnancy. like this should be like a really nervous day for her, where she's like trying to keep it together, I imagine. And I imagine too that you would be directing it that way on set, but on the page, I would also love like a sense of like her trying to keep it together, and succeeding, but then also like finally cracking when she's alone, overlooking the sea. I love Antoine, by the way. Oh, what a good boy Antoine is. What a charmer. What a precocious young lad. And where else? Oh yeah. The conversation too, moving ahead to like May and Paul and Cheryl on the road, almost felt like a scene that would take place before she found the cormorant statue, because you know Cheryl's like just trying to get her friend back together and trying to convince her that there's nothing out there to move on, and it would be great if I feel if May was just like, fine, like capitulated, goes back to class, tries to get her life back together, but then just can't, and then she's rewarded for going back out one last time, finding the cormorant statue, and then kind of being like, aha, I was right, he's still alive, there's still hope, and just sinking back further into her delusion and kind of raising the stakes of like, oh, now Cheryl and Paul have to try and like drag her back from this new delusion.
Can I just jump in? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Vanessa, did you think about those structuring decisions and the placement of the inciting incident? Did those things like come to mind, or did you even have it structured that way in a previous version?
No, I think I always kind of had it this way, where it was sort of like a soft lead into of the audience being like, here's this woman kind of teaching this thing, like why is she here? Where did she come from? And then her friends kind of it's like a slow crescendo type bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's just that, I don't know, that idea of limerence, which, you
Yeah.
just get so stuck in it all. But I'm like, I think that's interesting, like an interesting take on like how to weave more of her emotional state in off the top.
Mm-hmm. It is a very interesting structure. I'll give you that. And when I make a suggestion like that, it's like, you know, maybe it'll play more impactful. Maybe it'll be less interesting though, because it is cool. Like when I read this first section, I am like, oh, I haven't seen something structured like this before, and that to me is very interesting.
For me, I really enjoyed the deep dive into her professional persona. So who is a marine biologist? What do marine biologists do? What does it look like and feel like to be a Black woman, you know, at the front of a lecture hall teaching about this very specific subject matter? So for me, it really resonated, but I can totally see where you're coming from too, Michael, in terms of like the story structure element of it, and how you bring people into the world and bring people into May's suffering and frame of mind, and kind of extrapolate the relationships between the characters. I totally get that. I wonder, Helena, did you want to jump in as well? And then Michael, I know you have a lot more, because I know how thorough of a story editor.
Yeah. It's good that we split this up. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, Helena, did you want to jump in?
Sure. Well, first of all, I have to say, were you going to direct this? Were you
Yes, yeah, I will direct it. Yeah.
I feel that, Vanessa. I so feel that. And I know what Michael's saying, where, you know, boy, the DP you pick, it is going to be heaven for that DP. So I can't, you know, it's such a director's, if you're writing as a director, I feel this script so much, because I know that you'll be able to cheat a little bit when you're actually directing it yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I want to say, I have to refer to my notes here for sure. So I want to start by just saying that you created something really emotional off the top, visual. You're such a confident writer. I'm really jealous of that. I can feel it. And it's a rare thing to see someone with such trust in quiet moments. Do you usually write short scripts? Is this like your first crack at a feature necessarily?
I've written one other feature before, but it's a bit batshit crazy. So
Okay.
I was like, this is a bit more emotional, I would say. I think this is very like the other one that I wrote is like very more science fiction. This is more, yeah, like horror science, but it's very emotional.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the thing that I felt is that sometimes in short film, there's certain risks that we take when we're writing a short film, that you can kind of leave things hanging a little bit. And I feel like that is bravery when you write short films, and it's worth doing before people take a crack at a feature, because there's
Mhm.
different rules to a feature that you can break once you know them. But I feel like you kind of have this level of bravery that often sort of stays in that short format. And I felt it here. And I know Michael talked about the first image, but first of all, I want to say a couple things. Like, I do feel like from the first image, and we can touch on that a little more, I felt like I was in the hands of someone that had a really strong voice. You made it mythic and moody. I feel like the ocean isn't just a location, it's a character, which is really hard to do, and it tethers you to the story. And you're holding space for grief, and I feel it. I do want to sort of, I'll go back to what Michael was saying about sort of stepping that up, and maybe giving May a little more agency. I know you feel that you're doing that. It comes across that you feel like you're doing that. But my encouragement from a story editor perspective would be, we want the audience to feel that too, because they have to follow this protagonist. So giving them a
Mhm.
little agency. And one of the things you have is, I'm just going to tell you, you're an intuitive writer. And intuitive, I believe this, and I'm going to lay claim to feeling like Vanessa Magic is an intuitive writer. And it's so much like, it's such a different kind of talent when there's so many more conceptual writers who sort of think about plot and premise and acceleration, as opposed to sort of the softness and quietness in those moments. So you really know how to pull emotion into every scene. And that is magic, Vanessa Magic, I have to say. So a few things that you're doing really beautiful, and why I think they work is, first of all, tone and mood. You created haunting lyrical atmosphere. Sea urchin metaphor is a clever image, the soul of the story. Again, you let us feel May's grief without ever kind of saying I'm grieving, but to top off what Michael's saying, there's little pieces in there that you could do. But why that works is, again, you're writing as a filmmaker. It's clear you want to direct this yourself, because you do the transitions, the match cuts, and the sequences. So it feels really cinematic. And also, okay, let's just talk about the shopping cart filled to the brim of salty things, the chef's kiss, because it suddenly provides this levity. And also, I just want to say that the actors here, reading a script, I just know what Vanessa's probably gone through, is it's hard to hear your script the first time, because you're thinking of all these things. So it's harder to sort of see it. But I want to share with you that I felt like I really saw it. And some of the dialogue that in my mind I thought, oh, I'm going to have a conversation about, I'm like, oh, I don't have to have a conversation about that at all, because it was delivered so beautifully. And so so bravo to the actors for really bringing that to life. Let's see, tell me when I need to stop, because I've got all this. The character relationships with some subtext. So I would say that you show the dynamics of characters in this kind of, I don't know how to, kind of like a rhythm instead of like exposition in some of the ways. And I'm going to flip it, because there's sometimes where you do a little more exposition than I think you need to do. So Cheryl and May, I feel like they have a real sense of history. Antoine brings a warmth in this awkwardness, and whoever you are, actor, you did that so fucking well. Um, and kind of reminding us who May used to be. So I really got that. Um, and why this works, you're not writing to explain, you're writing to reveal, and that's hard. And you're doing that in several scenes. Let me see. Can I talk about do I have time here just to talk a little bit about the intuitive writing, Allison, or do you want us to move back to Michael? Or I don't know how much I've been
So
writing.
what would you prefer?
Well, how about this? Let me just
Yeah,
go.
Vanessa, choose between us. Who's
Yeah.
gonna talk?
And so what
I
do you
say,
guys think is most useful for
I say,
you?
Helena, finish your thought, and then we'll go back
Okay,
to Michael.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I keep pushing this year intuitive writer, and that is a huge compliment. So I hope that you hear this with love, what I'm about to say. Being an intuitive writer can come with a challenge when you're writing a screenplay that is a feature screenplay. So I'll explain that. And I'm kind of I'm poaching from Corey Mandel. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of Corey Mandel. He's an exceptional teacher. And I've taken his courses because it just elevated me from being a screenwriter to a professional screenwriter. And that's when I started actually getting work, is when I did that. So I don't know who I'm not affiliated with him, so it's not a plug, but it's just a framework that I really value. And he does talk about those two kind of writers, intuitive writers and conceptual writers. And intuitive writers create from emotion, rhythm, tone. They don't build story from plot first. They feel their way into scenes. And I kind of feel that with you. And I think I kind of think you even sort of said that. And I'm more of a conceptual writer. So there's a different architecture, and then I have to sort of go back in with the past and feel the emotion. And they lead with structure and tension and escalation. And escalation is the key thing I want to talk to you about. You can get away with a lot more as an intuitive writer in a short, but conceptual writing will balance your intuitiveness, and it's going to take the storyline home for you. And what do I mean by that? It's just that all right, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to tell you, bossy is my love language, so I'm just going to tell you this. But I think that it would bode well if you consider doing a conceptual pass of your script. Doesn't mean you're changing your voice. It just means you're adding tools to help some of it land more clearly. And Michael's been saying that, is that you want to make sure that your audience who is watching this feels along with you the emotions that you have. And sometimes that means that you're giving them little more seeds than you think that you need to do. It might feel like exposition, but it's not. It's just allowing the reader and the viewer to go along for the ride that you're intending to do. And that conceptual pass would be like, what do I want the audience to feel right now? Am I building tension and escalation from scene to scene? And that would be the key thing, Vanessa, is escalation. And you are going to be fucking brilliant at that, because you'll do it in small little moments where it won't be like, I feel like I have to sort of do something on the nose here. I just feel the way you write, you're going to be able to find it when you do that pass. And also, I think you have to go, are there moments where I'm repeating the same emotional beat without deepening the conflict? Because we as an audience love moments of seeing May sort of flow in and out. And it's her story. It's not James's story. It's not Cheryl's story. So we do want to sort of see a little more of her agency and her emotion and those escalations in a scene where you might do a pass and you'll see a little bit of repetition, where you might be able to build it more to get to the next scene and get to the next scene.
How does
But
that land with you, Vanessa?
Yeah, it's great. I'm open to all of these suggestions. I'm just like, in the end, I'm just trying to make the most clear, like a clear, emotionally resonant story. So yeah, I was like, I think I have to know a bit more about like conceptual writing. I do think I'm like I'm definitely an emotional writer. Like whenever I write, I cry. I don't know if that happens to everybody else.
it's a great.
It's like I give myself headaches from crying when I write some.
I was crying at the end of the script.
Yeah.
The full thing, not the 30-minute excerpt. I was verklempt, but the full thing, the full ending, yeah, I was crying.
Yeah, but I was like, I understand those points, so I'm just like, just digesting them all. So yeah, it's great.
Helena.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Where is Alan's cormorant statue? Justice for Alan. Where's his weird urchiny body?
I don't think he has a partner to get him something like that. So.
He wasn't loved enough. I
Justice.
also I also wanted to touch on dialogue and tension and escalation that Helena was bringing up. I think I would actually lightly disagree on May as a character showing and not explaining in her dialogue like how she's feeling. I actually think she really does explain a lot, almost overly confessional, in a way that is written beautifully. It's poetic, but it is often there's no friction or effort that is like needed to get it out of her, which really brings a lot to you know, information and making information compelling. It's like if a character is like, tell me how you're feeling, and they're like, I don't want to, please tell me how you're feeling. Okay, this is how I'm feeling. It feels like less valuable and impactful than it's like, tell me what you're feeling. I don't want you. Tell me what you're feeling or I'll burn your car to the ground or something. I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, and like how the characters pivot and try and like massage or get that information out of, like the longer and harder it is to get information out of people, the more valuable and impactful it becomes.
Yes.
To the characters, to the audience, it's like, wow, this, like, you're in awe when it comes out, because it's like, it was so hard and important to this character that it took that much to get it out of them. And I feel like a lot of the time in the dynamic between like May and Cheryl, it only takes Cheryl like a couple of prods to get May to spill how she's feeling. And it's written beautifully, but I wish that it took a little longer to get there. Like you took your time and made it more difficult more frustrating for Cheryl to get that information out of her.
Okay.
The,
Hey, Mike, can I just top that and then go back to you? I agree with that, because one of the things is asking, would May really say that little, or would May really say that much in those certain moments? Does Cheryl grow as a character, or is she mostly functional as May's anchor? That's another thing. We know she kind of has a storyline, but there might be a little bit of a feeling where it's a writer's convenience to a certain extent, where I know what your intention really was. And yes, the Cheryl grounding, May resisting rather than escalating emotionally. So each scene escalating. So that's where the conceptual is, Vanessa. That's where the structure and concept can sharpen your already beautiful instincts. It's just that little. So Michael said it really clear, and I agree with Michael with that. So carry on, Michael.
Oh, okay. The other big thing is Sea of Love by Cat Power. I love Cat Power. What happens if you can't get the rights to this song? Because it feels like so much of this is built. I mean, the title is built around it. It's built into these sequences. And
you know what? I put it in there for the read because I'm just like, I like that song, and there's other versions that you could possibly get to license it. Like I have thought of that, but it's just in there for the read. And it's one of those things where,
like,
oh no,
important to your soul that it be.
I also have a friend who knows her, so.
Oh, okay. Well, sick. Yeah, then.
Yeah. So maybe Cat Power, please. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Another question I had, or hold on a second. Actually, oh yeah. Okay. Moving forward again, when May is back in the house with the cormorant statue, this is like a moment where she finally has like evidence that there's like wreckage, or there is evidence of what happened that night. And when she gets back, like she's placing it on the thing, and then she comes back up and it's like crashed everywhere. I feel like that whole section, I wanted to feel more tense, not sad, because like May has been diving for months looking for evidence, desperately hoping and expecting that what she finds will heal her. And when the statue doesn't really do anything, like it's not getting her husband back, that should be like a really impactful first blow, I think. And then like forcing her to reckon, and then, well, yeah, the second blow would be the statue breaking, forcing her like to reckon with even less, as if like she's being punished for not being healed by it. And that way she's like in a completely broken and ready to be delusional state, and open for the urchin, because it's like hope again when she sees it, and that she can stay in her delusion and nurture it. And what I love too, this might be a light spoiler for people who haven't read the full script, is that you wonderfully give this sense, like, is James actually, like, is he a part of her imagination, or is he real? And then later on, when it's, oh, he is real, like people can see her, it's like, yeah, she actually fucking went there. She didn't
Is
do
he
the
real,
like the
though,
dream thing.
Michael? Is he really real? By the end
Well,
of it,
other people
I was still wondering if he was real or not.
other people comment on him, don't they? On seeing him? Yeah, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
They could all be
Yeah,
deluded.
he's real.
It's
He's real.
horror.
I love that you went there. And I love, yeah, just like the descriptions too of oh my god, like of pain, and that you like the guttural scream of her pulling the blanket over her and letting it out. You have a lot of really great emotion. I can see why you cried writing this.
Yeah.
Another thing, just real quick, she is kind of always May is kind of always radiant. I noticed in the descriptions, which, like, she's radiant at the beginning, she's radiant here in the office with the urchin, and so then when she's like radiant with Cheryl again, it's like and glowing, and Cheryl comments on it, it's like, oh, we've kind of seen her like radiant throughout already.
Is there a reason
also,
why?
She's 6 months pregnant. That's when you get the best glow.
I guess so. You know what? Silly me.
Not only she's 6 months pregnant, and she's also in love again, right? The love of her life, you know, either in reality or in her imagination, is back, and that will make you glow.
But it is something
also radiant so many places.
Yeah, it is something I'll track through. So thank you for that note. Yeah. So I was like, she can't always, it's true. She's glowing and stuff, but yeah, that's a good thing. So I'll track that.
There's also a lot of moments in the dialogue where it's like, I think you're a strong enough writer and director to convey a lot of this stuff in just like glances and looks. Like when Cheryl brings the donuts and says, like, I didn't mean to upset you yesterday, and May, I know you're just looking out, and Cheryl holds the box and May shakes her head. They didn't need that dialogue. Like, you could convey that in glances with Cheryl holding out the box and just going straight to, come on, I got your face. Like, you know, those tender moments in just like conveyed on the face. Yeah.
That's a great note.
I also felt like there should be something maybe about the urchin. I know she's a marine biologist, but maybe there should be something about the urchin that qualifies why she feels the need to bring it to work and experiment on it and microscope it. Although I guess it's strange enough that it came from a cormorant statue, and it's just hanging out in her place and reminds her of her husband, maybe on some delusional level, although it's not delusional because it ends up being her husband.
Helene, did you want to jump in on some of this action? What were your thoughts around it, going to the lab and getting looked at in the microscope?
Can you repeat that part?
The microscope, when she took the sea urchin and brought it in and she's looking at it under the microscope.
Well, it was great because I mean, that was really the moment where I felt like, wow, this is something I would watch, because then all of a sudden it became very sciencey, you know, in a different kind of sci-fi way. Like, it's obviously grounded sci-fi I feel like it's more grounded sci-fi slash horror. So that's where it's sort of, that kind of thing revs my engine, you know? That's what I have to say about that. I've got a couple other things, but I want to wait for Michael to.
Oh, I've talked for a chunk. You can dive into.
Yeah, it was like with
what
the microorganisms, I'm also like deeply obsessed with watching these YouTube videos of like microorganisms underneath, and they're all, as you've read the full script, it's like not a spoiler alert for anybody else, but I'm just like, there's a arc with the microorganisms as they grow bigger and they start to destroy each other, because there are certain ones that exist that you can get, like there's little vampiric ones, and you can see them slowly destroy the other cells, and they're like so microscopic and so interesting. But I love science. I find it deeply fascinating. So
And I feel like that is also where you do shine. It's very clear. And I just want to make sure that you know that some of the things that we're telling you or that I'm sharing with you about, a little bit more rules, like I know I keep going back to moving into doing more conceptual. I know I keep saying that word and you're going to look it up. I can never remember that word. Today I remember that word. But I think oh my God, I lost my train of thought. That is so perimenopausal of me.
On the science part, I really loved how you were like, it's more sci-fi horror as opposed to like straight ahead, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry to jump on you, Allison, but thanks. Now I remember that. Starting with the imagery, when Michael said, and I think that can really be a key thing in feature film, and I'm really, really used to this always happening, is even if it's a tiny, tiny moment off the top before you get to the classroom, where it's a blur and it's a haze, and we don't know through the shattered colors if it's the ocean or if it's a sea urchin or whatever it is. But that imagery is absolutely going to set the tone for if you're going to be horror or if you are grounded sci-fi or what that might be. A perfect example of that would be in Hereditary, where the first image was really the house, the dollhouse, and then it builds up into the real house. So I would encourage you to do that, because that just will have the audience sort of lean in a little differently. And that also brings me to suggesting, there's so many passes that you'll end up doing where you do your character pass. And I encourage you to do that, really thinking of each character and what they bring. Some characters are a little more distinctive. Some characters might sort of be able to switch out just a little scooch. And so I do, encourage you with your next draft to do that character pass so that we feel each character is being really distinctive. And then I want to talk a little bit about May's motivation. I know that we've had that conversation already, but I think, like what Michael is saying, I want to suggest maybe I'd love to feel that through sort of small behavioral actions off the top, like maybe she is logging a tide cycle, or she checks a weather alert obsessively, or she swims a little too far before turning back. Something that kind of illustrates sort of that palpable desperation in a way, and that motivation. And just like what Michael says, you don't have to talk about it, but you'll be so good at showing it. And then I just wanted to touch on prose. I would read your poetry and I would read a book you wrote. No question. Because you're beautiful. Your descriptives are so poetic and I love them. But I also know that this is a medium of show, don't tell. And even though, with some of these drafts and you being a director, Vanessa, you will be able to get away with a little bit of that sort of poetic license of being more descriptive. But I don't want you to do that at the expense of having me as a reader sort of go in and know where everybody is and actually physically know, okay, I've got this, may just reach for the cupboard to get out the Epsom salts, but where's that cupboard? Where is everybody in that moment? So I'm having to sort of go back and read a little bit to actually understand, like, sort of the real geography. Yeah, like the real descriptives. If they're outside and they're coming inside to the hallway, in exterior outside May's house, enter And it takes up a little bit more real estate, but allows me as a reader not to step out of your moments. And I don't want to have to step out and go back when I'm excited and there's momentum, you know, and thinking of a development exec, for instance, reading this, you don't want them to do that either. And then another example is like sort of the prose, like I'll give you an example. Loneliness lingers in the air like passion fruit on the tongue. I mean,
Oh my God, I love
come
that one.
on. I love that. And I when I was reading, I'm like, fuck, it even came out so great in this reading. And I read it over and over. Now I've never eaten a passion fruit, so I wouldn't necessarily know that. But it's more, can we shoot that? What does that look like? What would the actor do? Or the heart races? Can you show me that? Show me what it is. It's not, it's a physical cue that the camera needs to catch. Shaky hand, sharp inhale, eyes darting, you know? So right now you have permission to sort of have it be internal, but there will be a point where you want to do a pass where you externalize that a little more because it permits everyone to sort of see it as opposed to sort of being a little more story related, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vanessa. I was just gonna add.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think like my process of screenwriting was I've always been told to write for the read. And then it's like, once you get down, I was like, whatever, like when I'm on my 100th draft of this, when I'm finally shooting it, then to tighten up like that. So, but I do appreciate that note. I think I have a tendency to write poetically because used to write a lot of poetry, and I love reading, like Barry Jenkins has that sort of drawl to it. I'm very inspired by his writing. So yeah, but I do appreciate that note. But you should try a passion fruit. It's delicious.
Absolutely. And also, Vanessa, that is your voice, but I just want you to trust how much your voice is already in there. You know, like it's just who you are and it's coming out as who you are. So if there's anything that ends up being sort of a flourish that takes it out just a little, I'm still feeling that poetic sense because that's just who you are as a writer. And it's just you trusting that that's already being delivered.
I would, if I could.
Yeah, just one last thought and then I'll take it.
I would push back a little on that, in that I love the, to borrow a phrase from Helena, the lyrical atmosphere. That a phrase like loneliness lingers in the air like passion fruit on the tongue. That is just so charged for the DP that you're going to be working with. And it's great for the reader. I totally understand what you're saying, Helena. But I also think at the end of the day, it comes down to like, who are you working with? And what do they appreciate? What's going to connect with them in the script? If you're pitching it to certain people that they want, you know, story scaffolding, Walter Hill, minimalism, then maybe tailor it that way with your final pass. But there's just so much charm and tone and lyrical atmosphere, which I'm going to use as a phrase in all my future story edits now, because it's so great in a line like that.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much, Helena. In our last few minutes, I just want to take it to the cast. May and James, how did it feel for you?
It felt great. I wish I was standing when I did most of it. I just need to read the rest of it. So if you could send me the rest of the script, that would be great. You got me hooked. So thank you. It was lovely.
And the Websters, how did it feel for both of you?
Hello. I enjoyed it. I really liked Cheryl's input. I thought Cheryl's got like a cheeky, charming persona, and I was interested to learn more about their efforts for a child, and I enjoyed how you padded their side out of it. There's different plot lines developing, and I want to read the rest as well.
Yeah, the backstory is definitely fascinating. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was really fascinated also to hear the all the feedback from Helena and Michael, and there was one thing that I was really curious about when you started talking about the I'm just curious about your thoughts on it with the sort of figuring out the poetic language and sort of just figuring out maybe to temper a little bit of it or leave it, whatever. I really liked it, but I'm also not necessarily like you, just in terms of the rewrite, and you talk about development executives who will read in a different way probably than I would as an actor. And also from another actor. I'm just curious about those sort of, you have, if you want a development executive on board, you have to sort of, I guess, adjust language to some extent so that they understand it. And then you'll want your actors to get in on
If
the
I could,
poetry of the style of the film. I don't know. I'm just
if
curious
I
about
could,
that.
if I could chime in here real quick. It also a huge thing, a difference between like normal or just like writers and writer directors, which Vanessa is that when you're a writer, a lot of your writing might be just inspirational for the director, and more you might want to write more so that they're interpreting it rather than you putting the visuals and the tone and the atmosphere in the script. So it also depends on like if you're a writer or if you're a writer director. If you're a writer director, you're probably writing to work with lots of different producers and you're writing for like your DP in that. Whereas if you're just a writer, you're writing for the director to like interpret the script and then have their own conversations with the DP.
Yeah, it's a balance between the prose and the dialogue in the thing. Alan and Antoine, just in the last couple of minutes, I just have to say, Antoine, you stole the show for me with and just the way you delivered your lines. How was it for you, Alan and Antoine?
I'll go first. I really enjoyed Antoine's character that you developed. I'm eager to actually see how he's more involved in the script. If he has more involvement, I mean, he's very fun, he's very cute, and I love a lot of what you've like. He is a very necessary, I feel like, kind of like pull out from the very like like heavy nature of what this script is dealing with, and he's very welcome. There's also I'm a little unnerved by him, mind you. So I don't know if there's something that you've incorporated because there's something at some point later down the line about something to pay off. But I don't know. It's just the way like at times he like smiles and like it. I know he's meant to be sincere, but there's a mode of like concern that I have because I'm like I don't know if this guy is like a small serial killer at some point. But anyway, very fun stuff though.
I think Alan has left. June has left as well. She was incredible, but
Oh
she
no,
warned all us off the top.
Scott's
Oh,
still
Alan,
here.
you're here. Alan, how is it?
Alan,
How-
justice.
Sorry.
Justice for
Sorry.
Ellen.
From LA. My God, Alan in LA. Please, how was it for you?
It was amazing. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm very interested in the story edit talk as a writer as well, and I just love your the way you write, Vanessa. It's amazing. It's so beautiful, and like to me, like yeah, it's just that balance. I know we've harped on it too much, but that balance of like you know who is the audience and who's reading it, so that you can get all the funding in the world to make this piece. But to me, listening to that, I'm like, oh, this is the art of screenwriting. I love it. You put me right into that world. So thank you.
Vanessa,
Thank you.
how do you feel?
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Like I love it's just it always takes my brain like a one beat to process things, and then my brain will be like, oh yeah, it should be like that. Oh, I can't wait to like dive in and rewrite. Because I was saying to Michael and Helena before, I was just like, it's my favorite part of a writer is to rewrite and to get the feedback and figure out what will work to make the draft better. And then like those nuggets that I'm stubborn about until someone tells me twice, and then I'll always change it. But it's fun to get these notes from both of you so I can just try writing it in different ways and seeing how that feels as I work through the next pass of it, and just trying to get to a story that when people are reading it, they can feel how the heaviness sometimes of when you're dealing with grief, like sandwiched in between these feelings of limerence and that delusion that happens when you're so in love with someone and they go and you sort of lose all that hope, and then they come back and you're just like, what am I going to do now with this baby? And then, yeah, it's all like the ocean too becomes a great metaphor for grief. So I'm glad that that read as a character, because that was very important to me, especially the roots of the Atlantic and being a Black woman. So yeah.
100. Lisa, any final words? I think you've got your hand up. And we didn't hear from Sharon either. We're over time, but Sharon and Lisa, if you wanted to just close out.
Yeah, really great read, everybody. Really compelling script. I have a curiosity, and maybe it will reveal itself if when I read the rest of the script, if you please. Is Cheryl in love with May?
Huh? I think she's jealous of May. I think she's jealous of May's pregnancy, but go ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah, it's that thing. I think sometimes, like, I don't know, you have friends that get certain advantages, and sometimes it's hard to watch them throw their advantages away when you want those same things. So I think for her, they've been friends for a while, they work together for a while, and she's just like, she just wants to, like, share slap her, like snap out of it and get her back to like the way things were before, so they can both, so she can be more thoughtful about her friendship with her as well.
I was way off then. I was going for a sort of love interest thing. I'm sorry.
But you'll see what else happens to her if you read the rest of it. Dun dun dun.
Cool. Sharon, did you have any final words? Our narrator extraordinaire.
Yeah, thank you. I cannot wait to read the rest of this, so I will be emailing for the rest of the script. As an actor, I actually quite appreciate the narrative style of the stage directions, because for me, it's so important to know what the writer's voice is like, and it gives me such insight to your voice, Vanessa, when I'm reading all of the stage directions and all the non-dialogue lines. It just kind of gives me an idea of, okay, this is what they're perhaps getting at, instead of just straight on stage directions, which is helpful. But I think as an actor, I definitely, eat that up and take that into consideration when considering characters. So, and it was so lovely I wish I could take my eyes away from the script to watch everybody else, but there are so many words.
There were so thank you so much for that. I realized that too. I was like, as I was sending it, I'm like, there's a lot of narration in this. I'm like,
all good.
Is not so much. It's more sort of visual. I think myself as a writer and a director, I'm very visual in the things I want to see. And I think that comes from having dreams at night, like the weird dream I had last night, which I'm still thinking about and wondering what it means.
I'm with you right there with, the word dreams. Thank you to the cast, all of the actors. You're going to be getting a free subscription to Backstage, so email me and I'll get you those details. Thank you to our story editors, Helena and Michael. I love you both. I know you both from completely different areas of my life, and this just meshed perfectly. Vanessa, Shay, everyone, just thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for staying a little later. Our thanks to our partners in crime, ACTRA Toronto, GEMS, BSO, and all of the various other community organizations that have supported us in getting the word out. Thank you to all the actors again. Vanessa, any final words?
No, I'm just very appreciative of everything. I was also going to say to Helena and Michael, if you guys have written notes from that, please feel free to pass them on to me. It's easier for my brain to process things. I was trying to take notes as we went along, but I was like, there's lots of great nuggets that y'all were given. So I was just like, just want to make sure we have that. I guess we have the recording that I can transcribe, but yeah, it was.
I'm happy to give you your notes.
No, I would love that. Yeah. I was like, lots of great pieces. So yeah, very exciting.
And I just want to say, doesn't it give you an example of we had different suggestions? So it never means that your gut knows the most, no matter what and who you think it's coming from, in the end, it won't matter,
No, but now it's just in my brain's like, oh, what's this opening like poetry going to be? The lyrical atmosphere in which I start before she dives into the regular world. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, what's it going to be? So I'm very excited to think about that. I think that was consensus between the both of you, and I can sort of see that too, like based on reading it. So I'm very excited to make a new scene.
The lyrical atmosphere of it all. If anyone
Lyrical
wants
atmosphere.
yes.
TM, Elena.
Email me if
that
you
came
need
from.
anything. Also, if any of you have a script that you want to have done as our next table read, send it over. We're looking for table read number 4. Peace and love. Thank you all for joining. This has been incredible. Have a wonderful evening and happy
Bye.
Easter. Happy long weekend.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.